Jonathan Scott from Victory Programs. Many of you know Jonathan, and many of you do not. But we are recognizing Jonathan today with a Lifetime Leadership Award. Those of you that do know Jonathan, either in person or by reputation, know that he's been a visionary leader in our field for decades. Jonathan started his career at Victory Programs as an undergraduate at Boston College, volunteering, which I'm sure he may mention in his remarks. Throughout his career, though, Jonathan's been an innovator in so many ways, integrating addiction and HIV treatment, using harm reduction principles, I think even before people called it harm reduction, implementing the Housing First model for their clients at Victory Programs. On the basis of those innovations alone, Jonathan would be worthy of being honored today with this Lifetime Leadership Award. But, I don't know just as importantly, but important to us, Jonathan was one of the key leaders in making ABH into the organization we are today. He was part of a small group of leaders back in the late 90s who envisioned and led negotiations that resulted in the merger of what was then ADA, the Addiction Treatment Providers Association, and Mental Health Corporations of America, the Mental Health Providers Association. Jonathan, some of his fellow board members who are here today, and my predecessor, Betty Funk, who was here today, recognized earlier than most the importance of integrating addiction and mental health treatment. And they understood the best way to facilitate that integration in Massachusetts was to merge the two provider associations that historically operated within the separate silos of addiction and mental health services. Years later, Jonathan chaired the board committee that led to the rebranding of our organization as the Association for Behavioral Health Care. Jonathan's leadership was instrumental in navigating the shoals of a complicated process which resulted in a new name, a new mission, and a new logo. It's not hyperbole to suggest that the ABH of today would not be what we are without Jonathan's leadership and commitment. And I can say on a personal basis, I would not have had the success I've had as CEO of this organization without Jonathan's leadership, guidance, and friendship. And it's for these reasons that I am so honored to be able to present Jonathan with this Lifetime Leadership Award on behalf of ABH, our Board of Directors, and our membership.
Lifetime Achievement Award is sort of the realization you cross that fine line between the new kid on the block and the village elder shaman. So this new village elder shaman says, my admiration abounds abundantly for the astonishing attributes in all the ABH. It's brilliant board, and each luminous luminary honored today, and every resplendent one of you here who cares so deeply for those living in despair and trauma. It's not a stretch to say ABH is sort of part of my DNA. It's like a fingerprint. Your touch has left a permanent imprint on my core and so many others. Starting with the inspiring Vic DeGravio, who keeps this organization resilient, remarkable, and ready. Vic is the real deal. He's in a class by himself. 1,000 red roses placed at his feet wouldn't suffice. The thanks for what ABH has accomplished. A great community organizer once gave me this advice: if you want something to move, follow what's moving. Addiction and mental health care keep moving forward because of Vic's leadership. So follow that kid in thought, word, and deed. You won't go wrong. And speaking of thoughts, and words. My mom wrote for the New York Times, the distinguished of being the first woman critic on the Times. And the subject for her was always words, finding new ones, the right ones, their beauty, power, fragrance. For fun, she read the dictionary in bed every night. There's a familiar comfort whenever I hear a typewriter key clicking and clacking. And because writers write, she left odd, quirky notes everywhere, fragments of conversations, ideas, using anything she could write on to catch those thoughts and words, grocery lists, gas receipts, backs of envelopes, book margins. And after she died, I found an envelope in her bureau with my name on it, and inside a 50-year-old black and white Polaroid of the two of us, and on the back her last words to me, "Hi, kid. I really enjoyed your company, Mom." So if I asked her where to begin today, I know she'd say, start at the end. Find a single word defines everything you feel about ABH. And end with that word, and the beginning will follow. Just work backwards. It's not as easy as it sounds, but I did. So before I end, I want to begin with an amends or an apology, an atonement of sorts. 2 years ago, without warning, I abruptly left ABH board, my job, friends, family, basically planet Earth, to cope full-time with a really dreary and dire diagnosis of metastatic cancer. In a day, my life went from cool, calm, and collected to all aboard the bullet train to sayonara. And, on goes the crash helmet and the big nosedive leap into all the barbaric medieval abyss of chemo, radiation, 5 surgeries, 8 months in bed, and the short-lived hope that maybe the old normal will reemerge and people plan and the goddess laughs. And the cancer condition continued, and it was all sort of reset, replay, and relive another 8 months lost in space and down for the count. Excuses, excuses. I am truly sorry for the fast exit stage left. So what now? So at this point, my mom would say, enough atonement, get to the point. The last story, the one about those incredible kids. So here goes. I want to start with a little context, though. I live in Provincetown most of the time with my devastatingly handsome husband, Mike McWill, who's here today. And every September, there's an extraordinary event I never miss called the Swim for Life, and it raises funds for all the local AIDS and homeless services and all the village mermaids splish and splash a mile and a half across Cape Cod. I tell people if I get eaten by a great white, I expect them to double their charitable pledges. But I always wear my 25-year deceased partner Kevin's old saggy, moth-hole, faded blue Speedo under my wetsuit, and the gays especially look at me with suspicion and horror. What is that you're wearing? Vintage HIV. Because I'm vintage HIV too. I go back to the beginning of the plague, circa 1981. I was diagnosed in 87 when AIDS was all fatal, all incurable, all helpless, all hopeless. At 30, I was certain that ticking time bomb would be the end and the done of my dancing days. But people plan, and the goddess has other plans. Kevin died at 31, me not much older, but still here. And I inherited the bathing suit, the dog, and the not-so-coveted title role of widow. Live long enough, we all get to play every role once. So I'm also vintage addiction recovery, and I don't go back to the Old Testament with the fermented apple that caused all those marital problems with Adam and Eve. I don't go back even to 1935 when 2 men got together in Akron, Ohio, and gently but radically changed our world by believing so completely that no disease has to be fatal and incurable, and no disease has to let anybody die helplessly and hopelessly, and that was the historic founding of the first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. But I do go back to the late 70s when Diane Webster directed the first Alcohol Services Association, ASA, really a ragtag, loose coalition of halfway houses and detoxes. That's what we were in the day. And onward into the 80s with the newly branded Alcohol and Drug Abuse Association, the lively and lovely Linda Perlmutter, who built ADA into a formidable trade association, and then the progressive Anne Gras-Tafe, as Vic mentioned, who in 1999, along with me, Chuck Ferris, Don Emons, Phil Shea, and the ineffable, invincible, immortal one, also known as Betty Funk, for months met over power breakfasts, power scrambled eggs and hash, and hashed out how to shake it all up and merge our two experienced essential trade groups to create MHSACN. We all did that. Which brings me to the outstanding ovation we all give to Vic DeGravio. And at some point, Vic and I did bring in a PR design consultant to change the original tongue twister name. Remember, nobody could get it. Masakam, they would say, into this flow off the tongue song. ABH. It is said that the ties that bind are stronger than those that tear us apart. And our collective, united strength wins acclaims and accolades for access, action, and good rates. And my gratitude goes greatly to the mighty, marvelous ABH board who helped me grow up. And then there's my 43 years at Victory programs, and here's the deal. Since I was 18, it's the only job I've ever had. Slim resume me. In the 70s, I'm in college working nights at Victory House, our first rehab for men. My desk was at the front door, and since no one was allowed to drink, my job as clients came home literally was to smell their breath. Friends nicknamed me the human breathalyzer. If I ever wanted to compete for a job with those airport baggage claim German Shepherds sniffing narc dogs, I trained as good or better. But out of sheer survival, my little idea was to reincorporate as an umbrella organization of programs where essential independent nonprofits with strong like-minded missions, or at least good intentions, could band together. The truth is I didn't have an MBA or strategic blueprint tucked in some secret pocket. It really came down to I just wanted to help my friends dying of AIDS, and I didn't actually know what I was doing, so the real secret to this Lifetime Achievement Award is learning early on, always hire people way smarter than I am, and enter my incredible, daring, caring, cool Victory team who founded, created, repaired, merged, managed 30 programs in the last 30 years, and that's not nothing. So as promised, here's the last story to tell. This summer, the P-Town Business Guild asked me, the only adult allowed, to speak to a group of high school students at a local community student-led forum at the village library. It wasn't just any forum. It was organized because the students and teachers of Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida, survivors of last year's Valentine's School massacre, 17 students and teachers slaughtered in cold blood and dozens severely wounded, came to our quaint fishing village. Otherworldly boldness carries these tenacious teens careening across the country, telling their tales to other youth of community organizing and how community action and youth action is challenging and changing Florida gun laws. Candidates in my book for the Nobel Peace Prize. And if you want something to move, follow them because they're moving. Their sheer will to survive has as much raw determination as their determined will to tell the truth and energize and transform anyone who listens. So the sidebar to the story, why did they ask me? Why me? Because on October 15th, 1981, 4:25 on a Thursday afternoon, 566 Mass Ave in Boston, the date, time, place, every detail seared in my mind because it's the day I died, literally. I was 23-ish, first big job out of college, shelter night manager, Sunday through Thursday, 4 to midnight, starting my shift when 3 men, all brandishing handguns, kicked in the front door of the shelter for the homeless in an epic nightmare of violence, robbery, and brutality on the innocent, and in particular when the dangerous dude with the silver Saturday night special pushed the loaded gun barrel into the center of my chest and said definitively, "Now die," and then point blank pulled the trigger and fired. And that's the last thing I saw, fire exploding through my chest and blowing out my back. Entrance, exit. And the prophecy came true. I was gone. I'm still here. You know, getting shot is a lifelong heavy trip to reconcile. I struggle still with it more than anybody knows, and my worldview still compares experiences with, is this worse than getting shot or better than getting shot? It was, it was the times too. In 81, there was no insurance for me, no GoFundMe page, no marches, no group support, no individual therapy. I was a kid alone on the welfare ward on Boston City Hospital where no one bothered to clean the blood off my face. And the older doc who came in after the CPR and oxygen revival stood staunch and stern and gave me, I was a blubbering boy, and gave me sort of a scolding. "You're gonna have to buck up now and act like a man. You can't make these things up." It had the effect of making me cease and desist with all the tears, but it also had the effect of planting permanent seeds of shame, of guilt, and just keep quiet. And to this day, I still blame myself for getting shot. It's all my fault. I know there's no logic to it, but as Mom taught me, words matter, and, discarded sidewalk chewing gum sticks to the soul for good. However, on the bright side of getting shot, you find out your last thoughts on planet Earth. And they say the answer to all of life's mysteries come, where your life flashes before your eyes like a really fast movie, or walk to the white light. I want to tell you, none of those things happened for me. I was lying there on a bloody, soaked carpet, and all I could think of was, God, why did I wear this new shirt to work today? Seriously, gay fashion used to me my last thought. But getting shot cemented my Boston destiny. And it's decision time, fight or flight, run away or stay, and under the circumstances of flying bullets, those are reasonable options. But the irony of my little life is I deliberately chose to return to the scene of the most horrific crime for anyone, the place where you're murdered, and ironically found after years it to be the safest place for me to hide in full view and start victory. And you know, back then I couldn't handle a lot of the big world anymore, but I could at least focus on that little world called victory programs and keep it safe under my watch. So I presume people plan and things out of our control happen all the time. So there I am, 35 years later, Mr. Ducker and Dodger, sitting in the P-Town Library, listening riveted to those transcendent teens and teachers talk directly of that fateful Valentine's Day, and immediately I heard and understood something that took me years to reconcile. Their stories surprisingly weren't of carnage and mayhem. Rather, they were haunted by the minor mundane moments they could not get out of their heads, and every clinician in this room knows the word triggers. One boy, when he hears a helicopter, crumbles. For a teacher, it's the constant distress, pinging of cell phones, warnings, the sight of shoes and backpacks strewn across a football field as young people ran for their lives. The girl struggling with her pants snagged on a perimeter fence, and the heartbreak of the teen who talked of his shame and guilt of surviving because he dropped his binder and stopped to pick up all his flying loose papers, and because he did where others racing ahead didn't. And while they were talking, I kept thinking, yes, I can go to a Clint Eastwood movie and not be fazed in the least by smoking gun cowboys. But I see a dark stain in a carpet, I freeze. I see a gold chain on someone's neck, I want to beg them to take it off. Or the most trying trigger for me of all, the few times when this CEO really couldn't control people's sense of safety and victory. Like when the Long Island Bridge suddenly closed and the subsequent chaos and evacuation, I couldn't fix any of it. And during the day, for months, I could robocall, I can speak, everyone until I could try and get anything moving, but every night home alone, my head unhinged, relives, replays, repeats over again. The shot. If only I had done it differently. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. All the noisy, minor, mundane moments and wounded words trapped inside a mixed up jigsaw puzzle of bits and pieces. It is a lifetime achievement, all right, to put it back together. Triggers for our clients run deep, and they never truly go away. So someone asked me at the end, what did you say to those Parkland kids? Well, first, I told them they were beautiful. And then I told them to look at me because I am who they might be in 30 years, a seasoned Ducker and Dodger, still looking over my shoulder, still OCD, triple checking every lock, every door, every night. I told them others will try to say directly and indirectly, it's time to move on. Show some spine, stiff upper lip, walk through the pain, buck up. It's time to turn the page. And I said, what you're doing, facing down the world, took me decades. You're saying, no, this is my page now, and my page doesn't turn. As uncomfortable as that may be for others who may never understand why you can't move on. And then to the adults in the back, I repeated something profound and moving I'd read in the Times. We need to not just stand behind these kids, but we need to stand in front of them, to their sides, to circle them, to keep them safe so they can fight for a bigger, better peace in their world than we managed on our watch to do for them or ourselves. And that's why I wanted to come back today to tell you there are many things worse than getting shot. And what you do in your programs, your words, actions, deeds, keeping people safe is the opposite of despair and trauma. What you bring is more profound than love, is awe. And with you, they don't have to turn their pages anymore, pretend or feel fear or shame or guilt or suicide ideation, heroin addiction, alcoholism, manic depression, any number of unimaginable childhood or adult traumas. You remind them every day you show up for work, they are worthy, they are worth it. They are beautiful. Your gift is all the wonder and all the mystery packaged in spectacular awe. My favorite village elder, shaman, poet, Leonard Cohen, said it first, and I'm saying it now at the very end. I tried my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I learned to touch. I told the truth. I didn't come all this way just to fool you. And even when it all goes wrong, I stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. There is only one word to describe the amazing advocacy adventures of ABH. The true honor of knowing Victor Gravio and his tremendous team, the privilege of being a part of the board and all your big, beautiful hearts, finding even this late in my lifetime career what's bigger than the biggest heart is the wonder of healing in the simple mystery when a hand holds yours and when all is said and done and all that's left to say is one final word to you, for you, about you. Hallelujah. And kids, I really enjoyed your company. Thank you.